I get a little bit of kickback. And James, I don't want to describe you as the same as me, but I feel like, you're conservative, you're kind of out there. And because we're conservative, we are the more outspoken side, or I don't even know if that's the way to describe it. I guess my point is I'm calling people libtards, and some people get mad about it. I don't think that's rude to call somebody a libtard, but what is your opinion? Is that alt-right? Is that lefty? Is that disrespectful, impolite? Like what? When I say it, people laugh, people like it on the internet, but I get hate. People like, you're using the L word, and then I have to say retard, which I know is not a great word, but we're conservatives. Can we not say the R word? Now I'm like Donald Trump. I mean, where is your sensibilities regarding libtard and the R word?
I don't know. I don't want to say like libtard is cringe, but if you're like trying to insult the other side, a lot of times I think it takes away from the point you're trying to make. So while we enjoy it, you and I think it's funny, I don't know if it's like really effective in winning over converts.
I think you're right about that.
But there's no way I'm offended by it, because on the other side of the spectrum, we get called Nazi, racist, sexist, bigot, homophobe, literally Hitler. And I feel like that's way worse. So if you're going to get a rash about someone being called a libtard, you better just be blowtorching all the Nazi accusations that happen on MSNBC pretty much every day.
You're exactly right. I think the false allegations that I get called a Nazi or alt-right is absolutely ridiculous. And I guess when it comes to the left, and I mean the right probably does this a lot about projection. So whatever they're projecting and calling you, that's what they really are. So I bring and say all this because we're starting a new segment, and we've been doing this out in the field, but now on the show we're also going to react to libtards in the wild. My very good friend Rita Panahi, and this is the bumper for it. We're going to be going into this segment. She has a very famous called Lefties Losing It, and she's been so gracious to let me be a part of that. That's where you saw me on Sky News. You saw me on Sky News, right?
I did, yeah.
Yes, thank you. Jimmy didn't believe anybody sees me on Sky News. Jimmy, didn't you say you didn't believe me anybody sees me on there?
That's what I don't think Australia is real.
Well, no, do not be like that. What did you say earlier today when I said people see me on the show and you kind of scoffed at that? Am I wrong or am I right?
I don't think Australia is real. That's why I scoffed at it.
Okay, well, James is proof. Some people do watch it. A lot of people watch it, actually. It gets millions of views, but okay. My point is, I don't want to rip off her bit. I was already doing libtards in the wild, so I just want to say I give all credit to Rita and Sky News. We do not want to copy them whatsoever, but we are going to react to one special libtarded clip, a show, and, try to make it a thing, too, and see if it can catch on. So this is our first installment of Libtards in the Wild. All right, here we go. Okay, so this is a boy. What is this boy's name?
I think it's like Leah with 2 A's. This
is Leah. So this is Leah.
I think it's
Rose.
on the yeah, Leah Rose, I believe.
So nothing more libtarded than pretending to be a girl, I would say, is how I would describe that. Okay, that's enough of playing that. Now our next guest, we want to play that clip because our next guest is an expert and just wrote a great article about all of these trans athletes dominating women's sports. So when you see this, James, the high school student athlete having to compete against a trans person, I want to be empathetic to the trans person. I'm sure it's hard to be a trans person in high school, but I'm also based in reality that I can see that these trans people are using this as an excuse or as a way to dominate in a sport that they wouldn't normally be able to dominate in. So it's kind of weird that I'm attacking children because I don't want to attack children, right? But I'm definitely not okay with trans children. So where do you kind of stand on the issue?
I think it's kind of comical to watch in the high school setting and even in the college setting, because what are we sacrificing here for the whole world to see how ridiculous their argument is? Oh, we've sullied the integrity of high school girls' high jump. So that's not like a big sacrifice on our part. I mean, it's terrible for the girls, but this isn't a losable argument that we have here. Like the next Olympics is just going to be off the charts, and so they can tell you that there's no biological difference between men and women, and then we can go ahead and we can relent and let them try their little paradigm out in the real world and just watch it fail over and over and over. Because the great counterbalance to this is show me the one of the opposite, where a girl has gone transition and is now dominating in men's sports. And if it doesn't happen once, they don't have an argument. And so they think that they're proving their point and they're being pioneers and they're being brave and stunning and whatever. And they're just constantly proving us right.
No, you're exactly right. I mean, you just nailed it. So, when it comes to these trans people, like I said, I don't hate trans people, but I consistently see when I debate these people on college campuses, even if I'm debating the most liberal person, about in my experience, I think I've had yet maybe one person, that one guy said women and men are just as strong, but even liberal people concede that men on average are stronger than women biologically. I mean, they don't even want to argue that point. But so like how you said, oh, they try to say that they're even. I feel like they don't even admit that they're even. They just say, listen, they have a little bit of an advantage, but this is what's better for social justice and progressivism. What's the deal with all these dudes beating up on girls in women's sports?
It's a really big trend these days. I don't know what the deal is with it. I don't know why it's being allowed. Even after the executive order, it's still being allowed to exist. You showed the one young male there doing the high jump. There's actually a protest by 4 girls at that event who didn't want to participate in it. But there are, as you alluded to earlier, dozens and dozens of examples over the last couple of years. I can't keep track of them all. This is how much there is. When people say, like Representative Jasmine Crockett, she says it's not happening, point to the trans kid that's ruining your life. There's a lot of them ruining young girls' lives, or maybe it's their parents ruining their lives, as we saw sort of in one of your recent interviews on a college campus. But it's happening pretty much every single day. And there's a bunch of examples.
I had some CBD stuck in my throat. I couldn't talk. No, but real quick, I just want to say you made such a good point. It's these parents' fault 95% of the time, except there's a rare exception where they'll tell the parents, the doctor will tell the parents that the kid will commit suicide if they don't get the surgery. We cannot say that on YouTube. So I'm saying there are a few parents, like Chloe Cole's parents, that thought that they were doing the right thing, but the majority of the time it's Munchausen by proxy, where they want to keep their kids sick and on medication and constantly doing doctor's visits because they have a mental illness. So you're right. I just want to cut you off. I think that I get, by the left, they get mad at me for attacking children when it comes to trans stuff. I don't ever want to attack a kid. I think the kids a lot of times are innocent in this thing. So sorry, Andrew. I just want to make that point.
No, it's fine. And this is what happens. As we saw in your interview, they push them towards it. And there are some examples where the child doesn't know what's going on, obviously, and the parent will say, well, it would be cruel to make Billy compete against other Jimmy and Bobby, but that's just not the case. So I think there's some examples we can pull up, and I was hoping we could go over some of the examples and see if we could tell, like if you can tell there's a physical advantage, because a lot of people want to say, you know, if you started the gender transition at puberty or just before puberty, you can halt puberty, and therefore the child will not have an advantage over the other athletes, which is statistically and biologically untrue. And I was hoping we could pull up one of them in particular named Anna Caldis. Now,
yeah,
this
that's
isn't
full
a
screen
young...
number 2. Pull that up. Sorry to cut you off, Andrew. But yeah, Anna Caldis.
Yeah, so this isn't a child, but this is an adult. And this is a guy who his real name is Hugo, by the way. He
Time
looks
out,
like a
Andrew.
Hugo.
George, did you just say that this person's hot, George? Because I will literally, I just had a guy, the director of the show just said that he's hot. George, you're a married man, dude. Does your wife know you're gay? I mean, I think that you might tell her that before. Okay, sorry, Andrew. What were we saying about this dude?
I was saying this happened in San Antonio, Texas recently, and he won every event that he was in. 3 of them were more than 3 seconds. And this is a guy who's just joining like an older woman's swimming category and just dominating them. It was a 45-year-old to 50-year-old women's swimming category. And this guy just shows up and he dominates them. And there's documentation that goes back years and years where this guy was competing as a man, kind of like our favorite
Leah.
hot girl, Leah. Where he
George
was in a
is hot
men's...
favorite hot girl, director's favorite hot girl. But yes, our favorite hot, the penis propeller. I guess she is a woman, George, so you're not gay. I apologize. I don't want to get canceled. No, we all love Leah with the propeller in the pool that helped them win. So that's the most famous. What were you saying, Andrew?
I was just saying, this guy used to be on like gay men's swim clubs and talk. He was actually a scientist at university. He had patents that he filed under his old name, and then he just started competing against women and dominating them in swimming. So it's kind of a story we've heard before, but this is one of the more recent ones, and this actually happened in San Antonio. So even in Texas, this stuff is happening right now.
I want to get back to these ladies, but this is not a lady's name. This is Henry Halen. Can you tell us about Henry, Hank?
Yeah, Henry Hanlon. And something else you'll notice if you read a lot about these incidences, a lot of them go to Waldorf schools. I don't know if you know what that is.
I don't.
It's
what is that?
I barely know what it is. It's like a specialized art school based on a specific European style of teaching, and a lot of, I shouldn't say a lot, but many of these cases come from these schools, which is an interesting thing. If your viewers want to look up what a Waldorf school is.
I'm looking up ChatGPT right now. What is a Waldorf school? What is the basic description?
No, Waldorf Astoria, not the same thing?
Yeah. Well, we know Waldorf Astoria is a famous hotel brand. Waldorf
No,
school.
it's based off a guy.
It's a
What?
bad joke.
Listen, this show is not meant to be funny. This is a kid's show about serious stuff, and we're trying to protect kids in women's sports. A Waldorf school is an independent educational institution based on the philosophy of Rudolf Steiner, probably related, emphasizing holistic development through arts, creativity, and experiential learning, not experimental, experiential learning. It focuses on nurturing a child's intellectual, emotional, and physical growth in a non-competitive environment. Oh, so this is like one of those schools you don't get graded. The curriculum integrates academic subjects with music, movement, storytelling, and practical skills. Tailored to developmental stages, technology use is often limited, especially in early years, to foster imagination and hands-on engagement. Teachers typically stay with the same class for multiple years to build strong relationships. So they used to make fun of these type of schools in Arrested Development. Did you ever see that show?
Yeah, I've seen that show.
Well, they wouldn't get a grade, so they would get like their report card would be like a bumblebee, a bicycle, like, whatever, it'd be this new age shit. So that makes sense that all these transgenders are coming from parents that are so crazy that they don't want to send their kids to a normal school with computers. So this makes sense, right? I mean, once again, what is the contributing factor? The parents picking the school, probably picking their kid's gender. So once again, this is another check for the poor kids. I feel like they're being abused. So now let's talk about the one we just watched, Leah Rose. Now, Leah, you said 4 people competed, 4 women. They sat out of the competition. In this video, who was yelling? Was that one of the parents calling them, dead naming them?
I don't think it's clear who was yelling. At some of these events now, you do have people saying, that's a man. I think that guy was doing his best Austin Powers impression. But if you remember the fencer who took the knee against the male, the day after that, there was another fencing competition in California where a bunch of women were calling out a male competitor. So this is an increasing thing where, a lot of the times it's older women calling this stuff out. Not in this case, obviously, but I've seen several instances where older women, probably in their 50s or 60s, are calling this stuff out. And then you get a bunch of libtards, you might say, walking up to them and doing the classic, we're going to put a sign in front of your face calling you a bigot and a piece of garbage and all this. But there are many women like these young girls who are standing up for it. But I think that brings up a debate, Alex, and I want to get your thoughts on this. Do you blame any of the, let's say it's like a 17-year-old doing this. Do you place any blame on the girls not standing up or not sitting out like some of these girls do? Or do you think it's incumbent on the adults to put a stop to it?
Well, my very good friend, shout out Tim Pool. I love Tim Pool, my guy. He disagrees with me. He says that the women should forfeit. They need to not participate. And I tend to agree with that. But also, I can go back, and this is my personal experience. I look back at the COVID era, and I was a high school football player, and my senior year of football, and all my years of football were so important to me. I couldn't imagine getting my senior year of football taken away for COVID. Like that would have devastated me. Sports was my whole life. I was a little kid. I didn't have, I was in high school. It was my whole identity. So for some of these girls where sports are their whole identity, I don't want them to throw that away because some perverted guy is trying to compete against them. You know what I mean? I don't want to punish them when they've done the right thing. So that's where I disagree with Tim that, listen, I like it. I love it when the shot putter doesn't compete. I think that they send a message, but at the same time, that shot putter worked her derriere off and threw that shot put by herself in that field for hours on end to get to that level, and she's going to throw that all away because a guy with a penis is mentally ill and they're letting him compete. So I don't know the onus, how much of that lands on the women. A little bit, But I also think, like you said, it's the adults or the league that needs to make it fair for all the athletes. Now let's go to number full screen 5, Ada Gallagher. Now what's going on with Ada running track? Now we know Ada's in the Illuminati. Do you notice how it's 133-1? That's how they hide it right there.
Is that a thing?
That's 33. That represents the third of the angels that were casted out of heaven. So she is working for the Illuminati.
And that's why it's on the side of the round rock bottle.
This one actually got a lot of cheers when he and or she or they were racing, and very successful. Another person who's been in the news, the trans news, if you want to call it that, several times for being very successful, breaking records. And this is what ends up happening is I write about, like I said, literally dozens of these stories, Alex, and I don't want to have to write about this all the time, but I think there's some sort of like duty involved here where you have to point out that this is happening because people don't want to believe it's happening. And this is what happens regularly is that some of these athletes, they compete in multiple competitions, sometimes like in a month, because this is, if you think about high school athletics, you're going to tournaments, you're going to track meets and everything, a lot of track, obviously. And they're successful breaking records week after week. And the women are just sort of sitting there being like, what can I do besides participate? Now, that reminds me of the high jumper. The high jumper, when he competed as a boy, he had the same like jump height as when he was a girl. But when he was a boy, he came in last. And when he was a girl, the same height won him the competition. So this is like, he has to do like, he gained like 2 inches over the course of like 4 years in his jump. Like,
it's an unlosable argument.
Literally, didn't even have to get any better to win the whole entire enchilada, but they didn't place with their original height.
My grind so refined, I got no time for no games. Ask yourself